learn something new that might be helpful for you in the business world. Everything we do is linked to the success of every endeavor. Everything we do is linked to the level of IT adoption that we have. For example, this class today, the success of this class is because of PowerPoint. It's because of the software, that Microsoft, devised, which is called PowerPoint. That's why we can be able to project what we've done, and we can be able to see what we've done. It's because of this software. So the success of every endeavor that we do today is linked to the level of IT adoption that we have in that organization, in the family, or in the business. So this brief expose presents open source as a ready solution, for all the software we might need, in our business environment and in the world today. It also unveils the business model that makes open source a very important economic element for today. So, well, there was a brief outline, an abstract, the introduction. So what's open source? This technology in which computer software is available in source code, in the sense that the software, like for example PowerPoint, is given to you, but the source code, the code required to make that software, is also given to you. It's available to the user. This source code is provided under a license that permits you to actually modify the software. So you buy the software, you have the source code, you can modify it to suit your needs, to suit whatever you want to do. That's what open source is all about. It means you have the software and it's open and it's free. You have the software, you have the source code, and it's free. You can modify it to suit whatever you want to do with it. So it's transparent, it's available. Those are some key terms. So how does it work? So to understand what open source, how it works, we'll just use a simple analogy. We'll just consider that the software that's working on this computer is a cake. Let's say strawberry banana cake. I guess we might be hungry. It might help us. Just think about it as strawberry banana cake. So the software is strawberry banana cake. The source code to create that software is like the recipe for making the cake. Now with proprietary software, that is the software that belongs to an individual, that is private, like Microsoft, that it belongs to him. It's not free. With that kind of software, they give you the cake, but they don't give you the recipe. You can't modify it. You have no right to modify it. Only the engineers, the software developers can modify it. But with open source software, you have the cake and you also have the recipe. So you can make what you're free to make the cake the way you want it, how you want it. So it's a flexible technology that allows businesses to tailor software to meet their needs. And there's a major advantage for open source software because, let's just say, for example, you have a little company, a small business, you buy a software that manages, for example, the sales. Now you can be able to use that software. You have the source code. You can add maybe the information about your employees, their salary, the information about your salaries, and use that same software to manage salaries. And you can put that software in all the computers of your structure all around the nation free. It's open without going to request for a license or an authorization from the owner. That's a major advantage for open source software. So open source in the real world. So already there are a lot of companies, a lot of structures that are using it already. You know about Google, it runs on open source. Sponsors many open source projects. We have Amazon runs on open source. We have Apache, it's by far the most popular web server. You have Firefox, that we all know, is the world's most popular browser. They all function on open source. We also have Linux, that many of us might know. It's an operating system that functions on open source. Now this is a problem, an ideological problem. Now, as we can imagine, the open format and free nature will not bring well with proprietary owners, because of course they say, well, something that is free and open is not good for business, If everybody can have it, nobody owns it, it's not good for business. What they say is that, the open format, the free ideology is bad business. It's a threat to free enterprise because nobody owns it, so we can market it, we can sell it. What they say is that the open format promotes cooperation, but it undermines competition. It means everybody can own it, it's free, everybody has it, so there's no competition. They also say that it's a rejection of intellectual property, because it's open, it's free, so nobody really owns it, and that because there's no intellectual property, you know, it undermines investment. People cannot invest in it because, you know, you cannot invest in something that is not yours, something that anybody can have. You know, they also say that it's incompatible with many other proprietary softwares, you know, the softwares that are already in the market, that is incompatible. And they say that also, well, they say it's a direct threat, you know, to proprietary vendors, you know. For example, Steve Ballmer of Microsoft, he said that Linux is a cancer, you know, that is destroying, you know, the market, you know. So it doesn't ring well with them at all. So as you can imagine, these challenges poses major questions concerning open source. So can open source and business go together? Can they work together? You know, can open source software be a viable and sustainable asset in today's economy? In other words, how do you make money out of something that is free? How does something that is free create economic profit and be an incentive for economic growth for programmers and those in the software industry? You know, for example, like Richard Stallman, this is one of the founders of the open source. He himself said that programmers need to make a living somehow. You know, so though they build the concept, but they have to make a living. So that's the question we try to answer in my research project. How do you make money out of something that is free, that everybody can have? So these questions and these concerns have caused the open source community to shift in recent years of just basically, you know, community model that just involved, you know, sharing of ideas. They have shifted to a business model, you know, and the engineers and the researchers have tried now to devise business strategies, you know, so to make open source a viable element, an economic, financial, how can I say, an economic generating element, a financial generating element in today's economy. So we're going to now look at how does it make money? How do they make money? How does open source generate profit for the programmers and those in the software industry? Now, according to the researchers in the open source system, 80% of all the money we spend on software is actually spent on services. So 80% of everything you and I spend on software is actually spent on services like project consultancy, implementation, custom coding, integration, data migration, training, implementation. 80% of that money is actually spent on that, and only 20% goes to licensing. So what they do is they focus their attention on the 80%, and they forget about the licensing fee. You don't pay anything, but they focus their attention on the 80%, and they use the services to devise models and strategies to generate profit. Another way that they make profit is by reducing the cost of production of software, which is one of the best, you know, one of the great assets of open source, in the sense that they avoid to reinvent the wheel. What does it mean? It means in order to create a software, they use already existing code. They use already that is code that others have already written. Now you agree with me that if we have to build a house, you and I, and I build from a foundation that is already there, and you have to start from scratch and make your own foundation, we might sell the house at the same price, but I'll make more profit. Because I would have spent less, because I already had a foundation on which I built. So that's what they do. So they generate a lot of profit in doing that. So let's look at some business models that they came out with. One is supportware. It said pay us and we'll support the software. So the software is free, but pay us and we'll come and give you all the support you need. If you have any trouble, any bug, any problem, you know, we'll come and give you all the support you need. That's one of the models they use. The other one is productware. The software is free, just the box it runs in it. Just pay for the box, you know, IBM, you know, uses that, you know. They give you a machine, you know, everything in it is free, but you just pay for the hardware, you know, and they make profit out of it because the software they use, they actually build it on open source, you know, the open source model. SaaSware, well, I'll just go briefly. SaaSware, it means that you can rent it. Hardware, let me talk about hardware. Is what we might know, all of us. You know, hardware this is a free version of SaaSware. You don't pay anything. The advertiser pays instead. That's what Google uses. You know, you can use it free of charge, everything, but the advertisers pay for it. You know, you can create almost everything you want with Google. You know, but the advertisers that come and use it, they pay for it. Sugar Daddyware. Our software has That's what Firefox uses. You know,
What sugar mommy? Have a sugar mommy there?
You know, Eclipse has IBM. You know, you can use all of them free of charge. You know, but Google, you you can use Firefox the way you want, but Google invests in it because Google makes profit out of it. You know, IBM uses the same. That's what Eclipse uses. OpenOffice has Sun. You know, all the status models. That's what they do. You know, the sponsors actually pay for it. Foundation Warehouse, our software has a foundation. It has lots of sugar daddies. 1-to-be-1. Linux runs this way. So does Apache. Bagware, let's make a deal. These are a number of the business models. So now, who is making money out of this? Market statistics. We see that actually many people are making a lot of money out of open source. Oracle, made $7 million through its acquisition of Sun. You know, the IDC projected $8 billion open source revenue worldwide in 2013. You know, and a lot of, you know, Red Hat, one of the greatest open source companies, made over $500 billion in 2008. That's the number of companies that are making profit out of it. So as we can see, open source is taking over today. You know, business companies many business companies are using it today, and other proprietary companies are switching to it. You know, in order to manage, in order to make better profit. So as conclusion, so we can say without doubt that open source is here to stay. You know, and many people are turning towards it, and it represents a viable economic asset for many business companies and many IT technicians in the future. It's true that, you know, the compatibility issue and security are still subjects of future research and work, but more and more we are seeing that many people are integrating it into their systems. So thank you for your attention.
One question. Mr. Emmanuel, how can individual make a money out of this? Like a student like us, if you want to form a corporate, do you have to be incorporated before we can do something like that?
You can, you know, that's what is the great thing about it, is that you can go on the net, you can take, for example, let's say OpenOffice. That's what I'm using, you know. With OpenOffice, you can have the source code that is used to make it, you know, it's available for you. So if you just have a little skill, you can be able to use it to create something else that manages text, you know, that is typing, that is writing, you know. And then you can sell it, and nobody's going to, you know, you can, if somebody needs it, the person can pay you for it. And nobody was going to require anything from you.
Yeah,
I'm saying.
What kind of software you can create? Is it like a Microsoft?
For example, let's say I'm using OpenOffice. It's just like Word.
Right.
Now I can modify it to be able. Maybe I can incorporate in it something else, like, you know, to be able to switch from web pages to PDF directly.
Right.
I incorporate it in it, and I tell you, hey, OpenOffice, I can have a software that can do that. And you need it, I can sell it to you.
Right.
I don't need to go to the creator to ask for an authorization.
Right.
So I make money from it because I spend less, because there's already a source code that is already in OpenOffice. So just add to it. Getting what I'm saying?